In 2024, TD Bank was hit with the largest anti-money laundering fine in U.S. history, $3.1 billion, not because hackers broke in, not because of a market crash, but because criminals were invited in. According to investigators, one of North America's biggest banks became, in the words of the Attorney General, America's most convenient bank for criminals. And the people behind it, they didn't need guns, they didn't need violence, they just needed an internet connection, a few gift cards, and a bank willing to look the other way. This is the story of how a global criminal network turned one of the most regulated banks on earth into their personal ATM, and who's really pulling the strings behind the curtain. Welcome to Crypt Files. So how do you wash hundreds of millions of dollars through a giant bank in broad daylight? The method was terrifyingly simple. Criminals walked into TD Bank branches in New York and New Jersey carrying duffel bags full of cash, drug money, fentanyl money, dirty cash that needed to disappear. They made thousands of deposits, each one carefully kept below the $10,000 reporting limit. Small enough to avoid attention, large enough to move fortunes. To make it even easier, they bribed bank employees, sometimes with stacks of cash, sometimes with something as simple as retail gift cards. Tellers opened fake accounts, handed over ATM cards, ignored obvious red flags, and let the money flow. At the center of one major network was a man named Da Ying Se, also known as David. Between 2017 and 2021, his operation pushed hundreds of millions of dollars through TD Bank accounts alone, and his network was only one piece of something much bigger. In total, multiple criminal networks moved more than $670 million through the bank. While TD's monitoring systems failed to properly track trillions in transactions, this wasn't sloppy banking. This was industrialized money laundering. And it was only the beginning, because the real story starts behind the money. The investigation kept leading back to the same shadowy world: Eurasian criminal enterprises, decentralized high-tech criminal networks that operate like Silicon Valley, but for organized crime. At the top sits a secretive brotherhood with roots going back to Stalin's prison camps. The thieves-in-law, known in Russian as Vori v Zakone. These are not street criminals. They are crowned through secret ceremonies. They swear an oath: no family, no honest work, only loyalty to the criminal code. Break that code, and the punishment can be death. They hold private summits called skodki. There, they divide territories, settle billion-dollar disputes, and decide who rises and who disappears. They control a massive underground fund known as the Obshak. Billions of dollars hidden inside legitimate businesses, luxury real estate, shell companies, and now crypto. In 2017, the United States officially classified them as a transnational criminal organization, the same level as the Yakuza, the same level as major cartel networks. They don't need to touch the money themselves. They own the board of directors of the global underworld, and TD Bank was just one chapter. Their real superpower is something even harder to detect: trade-based money laundering, fake invoices, phantom shipments, a container of phones declared at $800 each when they are only worth $300. The extra money moves quietly across borders, clean on paper, invisible to most investigators. But by 2025, the game changed again. They went fully digital. Crypto became their favorite washing machine. Billions in illicit transactions moved through wallets, mixers, privacy coins, DeFi protocols, and NFT marketplaces. One wallet cluster could move tens of millions of dollars in minutes. No borders, no waiting, no questions. They scaled business email compromise attacks like factories. Using AI-generated voices and deepfake video calls, they impersonated CEOs, executives, and financial officers, redirecting million-dollar wire transfers with a single fake phone call. They created synthetic identities, real stolen data mixed with fake information, perfect enough to pass KYC checks, strong enough to fool banks. This wasn't traditional crime anymore. This was a startup that happened to be illegal and incredibly profitable. And the most terrifying part? It was completely borderless. One click in Southeast Asia. Money moves through New York, gets cleaned in Dubai or Cyprus, and lands inside a crypto wallet in Russia, sometimes in less than 60 seconds. That money doesn't just disappear. It funds more fentanyl, more human trafficking, more extortion, more contract killings. It destabilizes economies. It corrupts institutions. And it quietly reaches places most people never expect, including their own bank account. By 2026, nearly every major financial institution admitted the same uncomfortable truth: they still cannot effectively detect modern financial crime. Cybercrime and organized crime are now the single biggest threat to global finance. The line between the dark web and your checking account has never been thinner. These new digital mafias are getting smarter every day, using the same technology that powers your crypto portfolio, the same AI tools businesses trust, the same financial systems everyone depends on. They turned global banking into their playground, but they do have one weakness. Their empire runs on digital fingerprints. Every transaction leaves a trail. Every wallet leaves a pattern. Every deepfake leaves evidence. Right now, a silent arms race is happening. Banks and law enforcement are building AI defenses, while the mafia builds better AI attacks. The next billion-dollar heist is not a question of if. It's a question of whether we will notice before the money is already gone. If criminals can turn one of America's biggest banks into their personal ATM, imagine what is happening inside the banks nobody is watching. Subscribe to Crypt Files. Stay sharp. Stay encrypted.